What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of 21 Questions. We are doing this one live on YouTube right now. So if you are in the comments, make sure that you're getting your questions in. For the audio listener catching this later, I am Craig Stout. With me this week is my good pal, Ryan Scott Hall. Ryan, my friend, how we doing today, buddy?
Craig, I'm fantastic, man. It's a sleepy Saturday here in Kansas City. And I'm enjoying every minute of it. A nice quiet moment.
Yeah, I figured we'd do a little bit of a live bi-week 21 questions here. I'm sure everybody's got plenty of Chiefs questions. So we are going to start with those submitted in the KCSN Discord here. You can get that or get access to that Discord with a subscription to the KCSN newsletter. Make sure that you are signed up for that if you are not already. So, Ryan, we are going to go ahead and start what our title's about. The question on everybody's mind here. This one from our guy, Beaker Metal. If the Chiefs miss the playoffs this year, is the dynasty over? We're starting heavy. We're Saturday morning, firing off the big guns already.
It would be a really interesting, I guess I would not want to be involved in the argument, but it would be really interesting, I think, to hear what Chiefs fans would say, because if memory serves, the only time that the Patriots missed the playoffs in the Belichick-Brady era was the year that Tom got hurt. Which led to Matt Castle gracing us with his presence for a few years. And the Chiefs won't have that as an excuse. It is actually a largely very healthy team. Don't get me wrong. If we're thinking about missed time, obviously, Rashee misses the first 6 weeks. Simmons just got back from a 4-week absence. You lost Felix for the season. Like there are certain things in here, and obviously Xavier Worthy not healthy either. But I don't. I think it would be a very tough argument to make that a largely healthy, especially Patrick Mahomes, missing the playoffs, that you could say, oh no, it's just one down year. It doesn't hit the same when everyone's healthy. But I don't know. Is that an argument that you want to make? We can keep going. Like, just if they miss by like a half a game on a tiebreaker sort of thing and whatever, it'll be, hey, you know what? You made the bed and you got to lie in it. But it's not like they went 4-12, or I guess 13 now or something. I don't know. It's a weird one.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I don't expect that this football team is going to be, a 7-10 football team. Like they're going to be better than that. I mean, that's what this back half is tough. Don't get me wrong, and it looks tougher as it goes along here, but it's not one that I think that the Chiefs are going to come out on the flip side of 500 here. That being said, if they go 10-7. They miss the playoffs. Like, there's an argument to be made there. There is a discussion point that you can hold at that point. AFC is better than the NFC right now, in my opinion, and there's a lot of tough teams, but there are games that we will look back on in this. That Chargers week 1 game that they just came out completely flat. Jaguars game that they just kind of coughed up. The Bills is an understandable thing. They lose that in the regular season every year. So I'm not like holding to a high bar there, but there are games that you would point back to and say, hey, what the hell were they doing here? And especially if they miss out, there will be more of those in the back half of the regular season. I do like your discussion because the Chiefs are now in the Patriots discussion. It's that. Those are the two dynasties that we can talk about in the modern era. Frankly, I don't even know that the Cowboys is even up to snuff with what the Chiefs and the Patriots have done in the modern era here. So these are the two that we can talk about. Your point of the one time they missed the playoffs was the one year that Bernard Pollard went right through Tom Brady's knee. I mean, that's a big deal. It really is, because you can easily point to that as a Patriots fan and say, "Oh yeah, I mean, if Tom was healthy, we would have been fine." Or, even half the year being healthy, we would have been fine. We would have made the playoffs. We would have been okay there. Chiefs are largely healthy here, then you're feeling pretty good about it. So let me flip this just to take that extra mile here with you, Ryan. This is not a question that we got in the Discord, but it begs the question between the two of us here. Is this a better football team than last year? I think that's kind of the part of this that it boils down to here. I know that I watch this football team and I think there are a lot of pieces that are better. There are a lot of things that they do a lot better than they did last year. Is that part of what the disappointment would be and why the quote unquote dynasty would be over? It's because you look at this team and go, man, you should be way better than you are.
I mean, yeah. Look, it's tough thinking about this team right now in like the prisoner of the moment, right? Because the team is 5-4, and could conceivably end the season 13-4.
Oh, absolutely.
And like I'm not trying to say that I think that that's what's going to happen, but when you're sitting in the middle of it at 5-4, it doesn't feel great, and there are a lot of questions. I mean, 21 of them today, right? But like, I think that. I'm trying really hard on like a week to week basis to just kind of say, you know what, like just like the Chiefs are, I want to just kind of focus on this opponent, because there's so much swirling around this team. You ask like if they're better than last year, and it's hard to say one way or another, because last year's team went 15-2 and they benched everybody in the second of those two losses. And I watch this team and say, well, maybe I think that the offense has, a higher ceiling to it because of, some healthy pieces or whatever. And I also kind of like the fact that they've made some adjustments on the offensive line, and it now looks like a young offensive line. And last year, even though they were, young, I think the Joe Tooney of it all made me think that they weren't exactly the youngest offensive line in the league.
They also had DJ Humphries kind of kicking around a little bit last year too. And we did the whole Donovan Smith dance the year before. And is he going to come back this year and all that? So I think it felt older than it actually was. I'm with you. Yeah.
I don't think that this team is better than last year. I'll just answer that like flatly and plainly, because I don't think that the league is like everyone's better this year, and everything feels wide open. And so to me, that is probably more about something about the Chiefs coming down than everybody else coming up. I don't think that like every team in the league improved and the the Chiefs, like I don't know. There are some issues that they have on both sides of the ball, and some of it has to do with losing a guy like Joe Tooney and losing a guy like Justin Reed and replacing them with really young players. And so when you're talking about like big time leaders on each side of the ball, some of the stuff that they've had issues with is not necessarily surprising. It's also early season, dumb stuff.
It is. I know. And I mean, I think we also color a little bit of our view of that with, some of the things that we saw, without Xavier Worthy, without Rashee Rice, without, having their number one overall draft pick, who is back in the building. That does move the needle pretty significantly. But when you look at things like, the more advanced metrics, you look at their comparison to the league. I mean, we could just stick with points per game here. Last year, The Chiefs were 15th in points per game on offense. They're currently 9th. And I mean, the vibes feel right on that. It does. It feels like it's a better football team that we're seeing on the offensive side of the ball, especially lately. Then when you flip over to the defensive side, well, last year they were really good. They were 4th. I think we knew that that was the case and that we would look at this team and say, yeah, they were a largely defensive team last year. They're 4th this year. I mean, like they're performing at or above what we have seen last year. But to your point, last year was a 15-2 football team. They won in the margins. They won a lot of these close games that we're not seeing them pull out this year. But I don't know. The vibes are different about this team. And so it just kind of, as we talk about, dynasties ending and things like that, I think all of these things come into play. And I'm not saying that the dynasty is going to end. I personally think this team is going to be a playoff team. And I mean, we'll get to some more questions here. I still think that they win the division if we're being real here. I think it's very much on the table. There's more questions coming for that. But yeah, I think that because it feels like they're performing better, because it feels like they should be, ranked higher, have a better record than they do right now. The vibes around this from the fan perspective are very much like, oh man, like, is this it? Is this feeling like it's it? So anyway, okay. Any more on that subject, Ryan, before we move on to the next one here?
I think the thing that Dirk and I have been looking at with this year's team, it's like, it seems like there's like something in each game where in these losses where it's like, well, if it wouldn't have been maybe just that one, in that Jacksonville game, obviously the pick six was like the biggest swing, but like he and I can't seem to let go is the dropped interception before that on the Chiefs defensive side. And
let alone the Trevor Lawrence falling down and scoring a touchdown of it all.
Obviously, like that game has quite a few different things, but you look back to that Week 1 Chargers game, and it just feels like they just got the game plan completely wrong. You know, this Buffalo game also kind of felt like they got the game plan completely.
Absolutely,
But it's like you can kind of see it. They're definitely a team that I think they're still kind of figuring out exactly who they are and what they're good at, on both sides of the ball. I was listening to the lab actually last night and heard you guys say that like we're thinking that the offense is really gonna look different coming out of the bye because they just ran the stuff that they worked on in preseason over these last few games.
Yeah.
They can actually okay, so we got everybody out there and we ran the stuff that we wanted to start with, and now we can start to really adjust. So that I think, gets us on that upswing a little bit. Everyone's kind of hoping so. And I want to say that even though the Raiders pissed everybody off on Thursday, that we should all probably feel a little bit better about, although they are 8-2 and kind of leading the league. I think I'm not sure if anybody has a better record than the Broncos. They stink.
They stink. They're awful.
So bad. They did nothing offensively. So, reason for optimism despite the challenge the team has had so far.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll get to the Broncos here in a little bit, but full agreement on all of that here. All right, let's go to our guy Casey from KC. Who's impressing you in the Chiefs secondary and who's disappointing you right now, Ryan?
I'm gonna take what I think is maybe gonna be a surprise for people on the guy that's impressing me, and I'm going with Jamari Conner. Our boy Jamari Conner, when not put in positions that he's basically set up to fail.
Man coverage against a slot receiver, you mean?
Yeah. Precisely that, yes. When that's not happening and Jamari Conner is getting to, play safety and almost glorified linebacker, he's a box guy and he's good coming downhill. Jamari Conner is probably, I would think, league-wide in the top, 10% of tacklers in the secondary. he's very, very sound in that manner. And he seems to, that's not just at the ability to like wrap guys up. It's at the ability to take the right angle to get to the place to make those plays too. His instincts seem pretty good. And I don't have any problem with him as a player and the amount of snaps that he's getting and all of that, provided he's not manned up on a slot receiver.
Right.
And I would say that maybe if we're talking about a guy that is disappointing me in that secondary, this is the low-hanging fruit, but it's Christian Fulton for me because like there's a lot of different ways that the Chiefs could have spent that money. And right now it just feels like, you know, they put that money on injured reserve or something. But I'm watching him on defense and Elijah Mitchell on offense, two different guys that you gave like tangible money to.
Not small.
And they're on your 53-man roster and they're not active on game day. And that is, you know, kind of the definition of disappointing. And honestly, I'm disappointed in the Chiefs that they haven't figured something out because like Elijah Mitchell, look, if you think he's going to get poached, I don't understand why for, you know, 9 weeks, he's just completely inactive, healthy scratch. Seemingly he can't. And then you know, the Clyde coming over him. I know that's not the question, but it's this mirror image of both of these guys that like, Spags can tell me all he wants that Christian is still learning the playbook or that he needs to work on his communication and he can't really get that without snaps and they don't want to put him out there if he hasn't worked with the guys yet and whatever. Spags, shut up, man. Put him on the field. I don't care. Like I like Christian. I think Chris Roland Wallace is a fun and nice player too. He's not somebody that you're paying $10 million to. So like force him out there, go through the growing pains and get him ready because if he's healthy, he's worth $10 million a year.
Yeah.
So put him out there. Get my money's worth.
We spent all of this money to put him on a shelf up here. Yeah, no, that's the one that is the most confounding right now. And I know that Tucker has referenced this plenty of all of the free agent dollars that the Chiefs spent this offseason. Luckily, they have Jalen Moore. And I don't think anybody was really ever looking at Jalen Moore and being like, why did they spend that money on him after watching the Super Bowl last year? Like that was fine. Josh Simmons came in, outplayed him. Fine. You completely agree with that. You look around this corner room a little bit, and while we all love Noel Williams, and that's probably my most, I don't know, the biggest surprise, most impressed by to come in and play early. He's great. He's going to come out there. He's going to spar with you all game long, literally throwing punches all game long. And I love that. I love corners that are going to play that level of physical. That's great. We see the game plan shift week to week in this secondary. There are games that Noel Williams is not the guy. There are games that Jaden Hicks is not the guy. And there you're talking about, you know, kind of on the flip side here that I've been least impressed by. It's Jaden Hicks not being able to come in here and hold down a role in this defense in a major way. But that brings it all the way back to Christian Fulton. You're telling me that you have game plans where you just go, okay, not a Jaden Hicks day, or not a Noel Williams day, or not a, you know, Christian Roland Wallace day, or whatever. Or maybe it is, you know, the flip side of that. You can't find a Christian Fulton day. You can't find a reason to get that guy in the field. I know he's not playing special teams, but that's why you have Joshua Williams out there, why he's still on your active roster every single week, and Christian Roland Wallace and Jaden Hicks. Like I get why those guys get in there over Christian Fulton if Christian Fulton's not going to play because he's not playing in special teams. But why isn't he playing? What's wrong with that? You in a zone-heavy scheme, in a scheme that you need guys that can play the ball a little bit better. I'm not necessarily disappointed by the corner play this year, but you're telling me it can be better with a slower burn pass rush. That's going to give George Karlaftis more time to get home. And like the whole thing comes together a little bit more if you got a guy that you can trust to be out there. And clearly they don't. Now, the caveat with that, Steve Spagnuolo makes a lot of adjustments at the bye. We have seen guys that got minimal playing time that all of a sudden after the bye start becoming active, start getting rotated in. Some guys haven't worked, some guys have, but there's your silver lining for Christian Fulton. If there is one at all, you can say, hey, he was hurt all through camp. Now we feel like he's good enough to get out there on the field. Still very confounding. But speaking of being on the field, I am calling all Chiefs fans. You could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit chiefs.com/GEHA now to enter for a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. Ryan and I will be right back with more of your questions. We're going to start with some from the chat right after this break.
Heather Luce, broker owner, KC Local Homes, and Emprise Bank has been a great partner for us. They're our partner in Possible. Debbie and I hit it off immediately, and she was one of the first bankers that I would say sat down with me and actually genuinely cared about my story and where I was coming from and what I was trying to do, not just what kind of loan do you need, how much equity do you have, and she really kind of laid out my options for me and just made the process make sense, and I felt comfortable with it. Start to talk about it and think about it, a building popped up that I wanted, that I could afford, and it was in a great area. And so they really guided me through the SBA. I used the SBA loan to acquire it and really guided me through that process and made it happen. I think that we talk about that a lot, where we wouldn't have a business. We wouldn't have what we have here if we didn't have the clientele that we do. I've always functioned out of a people over profits mentality. The houses sell themselves, right? I'm here to help people and facilitate the transaction for them.
Welcome back to another edition of 21 Questions. I'm Craig Stout. Ryan Scott Hall with me. We are turning to the live chat right now. Our guy, Grayson Jaspers. I appreciate you using your name today, Grayson, and not the name that you normally submit questions under for me. Says, he asks us of Craig, but also Craig and Ryan here. Is George Karlaftis a top 15 defensive end, Ryan? What you think here?
In the NFL?
Yes, in the NFL.
I think that's a very difficult argument to make given the lack of sack production.
Mm-hmm.
Top 15 in my heart for sure. Big fan of George Karlaftis. Love his work, I think it'd be really hard. The pressure numbers are there. I think, which is why the question probably exists, right? Mm-hmm. George is, I think, did he finish did in pressures last year? Not on the team, in the NFL. Maybe it depends on who the source is and all that.
I think it is who the source is there. He was up there, though. He was definitely up there.
Can I ask you a technical question about pressures?
Mm-hmm.
Can multiple people have a pressure on the same play?
Absolutely the case.
How many people can have a pressure on a single play?
I don't know. Other people gate this. I know when I was charting, I'm just speaking to my own thing here.
Sure.
I felt like I was probably generous with pressures when I was doing the charting aspect, which is why it would surprise me when PFF or Brandon Thorne or these other, charting metrics and things like that would top me in some of these pressures for pressure numbers for some of this sort of stuff. But basically, I would do every single player that got a pressure. So think of a long drawn out quarterback play. Maybe George Karlaftis crushes the pocket, flushes the quarterback out. On the way out, the quarterback has to take a wide path around Charles and Minihue. I would give them both a pressure there. Then quarterbacks in the flat, maybe Nick Bolton sees that, sprints out there and, gets a pressure right before the quarterback is throwing the ball away. I would give 3 pressures on that play. I would actually award that. Now, as a part of my pressure rate and things like that, that still only counts for 1 on the play for the entire Chiefs defense. It's either a 1 or a 0 essentially in that. It's not a 3 or a 0, but I would actually award multiple pressures per play on that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good question for Chiefs fans because it kind of shows how biased you might be. George does have a lot of pressure numbers, but until he can be the anchor of a pass rush, I think there are 15 guys in the NFL that you can build a pass rush around. And I wouldn't say that George is necessarily the guy I would want to do that. I do think he is the guy that the Chiefs are going to do that with, hopefully with some friends as well. But like he is now. I think that the torch has maybe already been passed, but it's certainly in the process. They're literally like they're in the relay, and it's kind of someone already said stick. All right, it's certainly happening. I think that it's being passed between Chris and George now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I know the reason behind Grayson's question, all of these advanced metrics, these people, Brandon Thorn is the best in the business at this. Full stop. He is excellent at trench evaluation play. So when he says things about pass rushers or about offensive linemen, I just inherently believe it. He matches the eye test for me on all of that stuff. George Karlaftis right now is 6th in the NFL in his true pressure rate metric. And he weights these things by several different things, and which is why I love the way that Brandon Thorn does this, because in raw pressure numbers, yeah, he's way up there. Like he would be, I believe, number 2 in raw pressure numbers, if I remember that correctly. But Brandon will have what he calls rare high quality pressures. So these are like, think of the plays that are on everybody's highlight reels where it's just like this quick chop around the edge. You got the, hitting the quarterback and everything within 2.5 seconds or something like that. Then there's high quality. You're going up against a good offensive tackle. You win pretty quick, get that pressure. Then there's low quality. Low quality doesn't mean bad. It just means it's slower burn. Maybe it's quarterback that wants to hold on to the ball a little bit more. It's later in the rep. Right now, George Karlaftis has 1 rare high quality win, according to Brandon Thorn here. He has 16 high quality wins. That's pretty good, but 21 low quality wins. Of everybody in the top 15 in Brandon Thorn's list here, there's only 1 person or 2 people that have more than 21 low quality wins. One of those is Tui Tuipulotu. And I think that is a surprise to everybody. Nobody would throw Tui Tuipulotu into a top 15 defensive end conversation right now, but he's getting some of those pressures. The other one is the one that is the highest on his list, and that's Aiden Hutchinson. And he has so many more rare high quality and high quality reps that he wins at. So yeah, the low quality is there, but he's also sprinkling in a little bit more of that. That being said, we are on the fringe of that. The more we get from George Karlaftis here, and the more that we see this, we start to see that he is becoming part of that conversation. I believe we got this question when we were doing defensive end rankings in the lab earlier this year. I said that I would put him right at about 21st, if I remember correctly. I think he's had a good enough season, and we've seen some of these other guys that I had above him maybe not have the seasons that we expected from them. That being said, when you look at some of there's other guys that are entering the mix. Nick Bonito wasn't necessarily a guy that I had. I think I had him kind of floating in that same range. Nick Bonito's a top 10 pass rusher this year, full stop. So there's a lot of this that rotates into it right now. I think George Karlaftis, I think that's an appropriate ranking for him, maybe 16, 17, 15. But I think that's more of an indicator of the NFL as a whole, that we don't have a bunch of guys that we look at right now and we say, okay, that is the anchor of a pass rush for a given defense. I think that's just more of there's only 6, 7, 8 of those guys in the NFL right now. And George is just kind of in that next tier and will continue to kind of float around between that, I'll call it 10 to 20 range for the majority of his career, which is still very valuable to everybody. It's just like Ryan said, as Chris Jones passes the torch along, you would hope that pass rush would be a little bit stronger.
I also think, a guy that when George was coming out, he was compared to quite a bit, mostly because they went to the same school and are of the same complexion. But Ryan Kerrigan is a dude that in the first 3 or 4 years of his career in Washington, he got to play opposite Brian Orakpo, who was a very good pass rusher in his own right. And both of them were really successful. And when Orakpo left as a free agent, there's about a 2 or 3 year span there where Kerrigan is the anchor of Washington's pass rush. And I think maybe it was, a year of 7 sacks and a year of 8 sacks and a year of 9 sacks. And the next highest total on his team is 3 or 4. Truly, they didn't have much else around him. And don't get me wrong, Washington was not good during any of these stretches really at all. But as soon as they draft Preston Smith and it starts to balance out because there's another talent there, the numbers start to go back up. And so
11 sacks, 13 sacks, 13 sacks. Yeah. Yep,
right. Just absolutely. Because there's somebody there to help a little bit. And this is where I think the Chiefs are right now this season. They're in this dip of, hey, I guess we do have 2 guys on this line, but we only have one edge that anybody is afraid of at all. Literally one player on this roster threatens quarterbacks from the edge. And the other guys that they have that play that position are way more effective rushing from the inside, trying to take an inside shoulder, trying to be a bull rush power player, and George is really the only guy that's willing to take an outside shoulder. And so I think that puts them in a really tough spot because Chris gets double teamed and nobody else, is helping there. And don't get me wrong, if we're talking about building a pass rush around somebody, you want them to be able to, who cares what else is on this line?
Correct.
But I think this is illustrative of kind of where George is. He can't just win on his own all the time, period. But he is in that next tier of guys that if the conditions are right, he can be really, really good. And I think the Chiefs are one defensive player away on that line from George being double digits consistently. And I think that they probably feel that way too.
I think so too. And I think, that's why you pay Chris. You hope that Chris is going to do that. Obviously, he's after 30. They took a gamble on that, and season's not over. We're not writing Chris off at this point or anything like that. But we talk so much about George's ceiling because I think that's what everybody wants to hang on here. George's ceiling, that's why you pay him. We throw the Trey Hendrickson argument around a lot as well. I know it's all white pass rushers that we're talking about here, guys, but it is a play style thing, whether or not that comes with being a white pass rusher or what. But we talk about Trey Hendrickson and the way that he wins, technical pass rusher, the way he goes out there and he's able to beat guys. It's not with speed. It's not always with power. George has those glimpses. And so that's why we talk about him right there. But Ryan Kerrigan is really, truly where he is right now as a pass rusher. And that's okay. Ryan Kerrigan averaged 9.4 sacks a season, and he played for 11 years in the league. He played in Washington every single one of those years but one. If this team has George Karlaftis on this team for 10 straight years at 9.4 sacks a year, guys, that's amazing. That's crazy production right now. So
you're talking about a guy that could potentially have 100 sacks.
Yes,
yes.
Kerrigan was 4.5 shy. 4.5 shy. But I mean, it is an incredible amount of production here that I think we look at too often, myself included. I'm part of the royal we, and I just go, you don't win quick enough. You're not wrecking games. You're not doing any of this. It's easy to kind of look at him that way. But then you think back, like, that's ridiculous production. Ryan Kerrigan's not going to be a Hall of Fame player. Hall of very good? Absolutely. He's in that conversation. So that's where we're talking about with George Karlaftis. All right. Another question from the chat here. D Raven 2073. Should we be concerned about Rice's lack of cuts and spins after the catch since his injury? Ryan, how you feeling about that?
I don't know if I have, noticed it. I feel like it's kind of being brought to my attention with the question. I think that my concern with Rashee has been that something about him or something about Patrick or something about what the Bills were doing defensively. I don't think that he should have really any games the rest of the year where he only has 4 catches. And I really don't want to see him go a full 2 quarters without even getting a look. He's just too important to what this offense does. And ultimately, I think there's no way to say that anyone other than Patrick Mahomes is like the identity or whatever for this football team. But Rashee Rice is the second most important person on that offense. And anytime that he's not involved, that is a problem. And I don't know if he's been missing any part of his game so far in terms of the cutting or the spinning or anything like that. I think that they're just probably trying to ramp him up slowly, just to, be safe. And I don't want to put way too much emphasis on coming out of this bye week, but I am going to be really, really interested to see how things change, how hopefully and potentially rejuvenated the offense looks. I'd like to think that they'll be refocused because before the Bills game, was it 4 or 5 games in a row that they had scored 28 points? The offense really looked like they were starting to roll. I even remember at halftime down, whatever it was, 21-10, I think, against Buffalo. Even sitting there at halftime, my partner, Dirk, tweeted something to the effect of like, we know the offense is going to be rolling in the second half. This defense just needs to get some stops. And the opposite happened. The defense got as many stops as you needed over and over and over again, and the offense couldn't get out of their own way. And don't get me wrong, hey, they scored some points, sure.
They did. But it wasn't we all felt like that. All right, this feels like the Commanders game a little bit. It was sloppy first half, come out in the second half and hit them. The opportunities are there. Yeah.
Have you noticed the lack of cuts and spin?
I have a little bit there. It seems more kind of head down, I guess, to D Raven's point. Now, it helps very, very, very much right now. It helps the fact that 3 of his, how many catches now? 20 catches have ended up in the end zone. That definitely helps. Helps the percentages a little bit more there. And then another 2 were him diving for the end zone there, coming up just short. So, that is a quarter of his catches right now that we are seeing that he is definitely trying to be more head down, dive for the end zone, get into the end zone, put points on the board. There is a little bit of this that I am seeing where maybe before he was willing to spin and stay upright and try and get a few extra yards. I'm okay with him easing back into this team because, again, he has not taken football hits, or did not take football hits for 6 straight weeks. And honestly, I don't even really want to count the preseason because those are barely football hits there. Everybody's going, half speed, 3/4 speed there. So I completely am fine with him not trying to, pull a juju and keep himself upright and spin and lean back and do all of that and get lit up. I want him to get more integrated into the offense a little bit more, and not necessarily protect himself, but like feel a few more of those hits before he feels comfortable going out and trying to extend and get that extra yardage and things like
Some of it too, like I would imagine people have maybe heard the saying the year after the year after.
Yes.
Right now, Rashee is in the year after his injury. And most people say everyone feels normal the year after the year after, meaning that next season, Rashee is going to be able to not think about his knee, and so I would imagine that maybe there is a certain level of protecting himself. And you said head down. I could see that. Like, I'm going to maybe, instead of thinking about all the different things that, maybe I'm just going to try to get the first down.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than a cut that maybe gets me 8 extra yards, but I may be 1 yard short of the sticks. No, I'm just going to put my head down and ensure I get the 2, or something like that. Yeah. So
he's Kareem hunting.
He's Kareem hunting the hunt bunt, after the catch there. All right, we got one more Chiefs question here before we dive in. It's Ryan and I. We got lots of food questions. We got lots of stuff coming, man. The Discord knows. One more question here from Keith McLean. Will KC win the AFC West for the 10th consecutive season? Ryan, where do you sit right now?
I want the bye week. Doggone, I want them to so bad. Yep. Honestly, right now, I don't think there's anything else in the world that I care more about than the Chiefs extending that streak from 9 to 10. I will be so disappointed if the AFC West streak stops at 9. And I mean, ultimately, I want to see them break the Patriots record, which I think was either 12 or 13 in a row, something like that. That would be amazing. But I just want 10. I want the double-digit number so badly. And if the year that they don't get it done, it's the Bo Nix Broncos, this bogus ass Broncos. Don't get me wrong. That defense is phenomenal.
Oh, it's like ridiculous.
They're so good at sacking the quarterback and so much better than everybody else. They're like 35 or 40 sacks ahead of any other team over the last 2 seasons. And it's only been a season and a half. I mean, dude, they're lapping everybody as far as the pass rush is concerned. But, I watch their offense play football and I'm like, what is happening? It looks like Tim Tebow. So, yeah. Yeah, I want them to. Man, are they? I'm gonna say yes because I believe in this team. I believe in Patrick Mahomes. I believe very, very much in the coaching staff to get some things right. I also just don't think, like, when I look at the roster, here's some optimism for you, Craig, and maybe you view this similarly. Because of Christian Fulton's very, very long absence, because of what has felt like lately, Jaden Hicks is not even really part of this football team. And because we've been able to, kind of shift and evolve on offense. We've spent the 6 weeks without Rashee, and now we've spent 4 weeks without my boy Tyquan Thornton. They're going to get, I think, all of these things. They're going to tinker around, and it's all going to fall in place, and it's going to feel like, you know what? The Chiefs made all these acquisitions at the trade deadline. They acquired Jaden Hicks. They acquired Christian Fulton. They acquired
Josh Simmons.
They acquired Josh Simmons. Look at all the players that the Chiefs got at the trade deadline. That's, I think, what it's going to feel like coming out of the bye week a little bit, hopefully. And that'll put us all a little pep in our step.
Yeah. So I am doing this as well, but I'm making sure that you understand that you are on the same page as me. We're writing off the Chargers, right? Chargers are not winning this division.
I have a really hard time seeing them finish this thing without either of their starting tackles. I know they traded for Trevor Penning, and I think that there's a world where Jim Harbaugh can maybe get something out of him. But I would fully imagine that it's at guard and not at tackle. And
I was going to say, it's a bully ball. thing.
to come try to
Yeah.
save the tackle situation. That's not going to work.
Yeah, it's a bully ball thing, and a Marion Hampton, who I know can come back still this season, is not there on the field. They're running Kamani Vidal right now. Again, I don't sit there and watch this team, and then their defense is not that good. And they've still got teams like Philadelphia, Kansas City, Houston, and Denver on their schedule right now. Those are very losable games for the Chargers. So that's why I'm on the same page. I don't think the Chargers are.
What about the Raiders?
Meanwhile,
Are they a threat to win the division this year?
Sure. Why not? Well, let's just go ahead. They're sellers at the deadline, but what? No, they are.
Watch out for those Raiders.
Oh, they're so awful. It hurts me so much to watch them play football. As somebody who watched this team
other than Gino, and I'm like,
I know,
dude, you guys are it's so bad.
I loved the Gino move at the time. Like when they made it, I went, what a great move. I love that move. They need competent quarterback play in there. Gino is going to provide a baseline, and then he got there and yikes. Absolutely yikes. And that team is playing like a team that does not care right now.
I think the defense is feisty, man. And it's really not all that talented outside of Max, and I don't even know if Kuntz has been doing a whole lot this year, but
he's been okay. Yeah, but
that defense has been pretty scrappy. But boy, that offense is a mess,
brutal. But yeah, the Broncos have the Chiefs next week. Then they go on bye. Then they got the Commanders. That's probably a win. They got the Raiders. That's probably a win. But then they go Green Bay, Jacksonville, probably a win. Chiefs again, and the Chargers. Okay. I look at that and I say I can feasibly see 3 more losses there. Now, that does not leave very much room for error for the Kansas City Chiefs. You can't lose very many games in that and still catch the Broncos. But watch the Broncos offense play. I say, I think the Commanders will be able to win that. Or not the Commanders. The Broncos will be able to beat the Commanders. Yeah, I also watched that offense only hang 10 points against the Las Vegas Raiders this week. And on top of that, the Las Vegas Raiders had only allowed 5 punts in a game once this season. Broncos punted 7 times in that football game. It was rough. Really, really, really rough to watch there. So I do think that the Chiefs are going to win the AFC West, though. I really do. I don't expect them to run the table from here on out. I think there are a couple of tripping points. Again, they're playing 2 elite defenses, 3 technically, because they play the Broncos twice in the back half of the season, and they have the Colts still on the schedule here. And man, that's a good football team over there. So I do think that we are going to see another loss at least. But I do think that the Chiefs will beat the Broncos twice, and I think the one coming out of the bye here, spoiler for next week's lab, they're going to shell them. I think that the Chiefs are going to come out fired up for that game, and they're going to shell them. I think that the Chiefs do leave it late, but they do pull off the AFC West. But we're not going to see a Chiefs resting their starters in week 18 sort of situation like we have the past couple of years.
Something to keep in mind for Denver. So they played Thursday, and the Chiefs played Sunday. So we've got, a rest advantage, though, because Denver is going Thursday, Sunday, bye week. I think that they're currently in the very, very beginning of a stretch of one game in like 28 days or something. They just got really lucky with the timing on it. So all of the issues that they've been having offensively, I don't know if they're going to fix all that stuff, but Bo Nix looked like a much better player last year than he does this year. And that may be about, the sophomore slump and defenses making adjustments and all of those things. It might be that he was on a heater last year and now he's who he is. We don't really know. But all that optimism that we're talking about with this Chiefs offense saying, hey, they're going to get back on track Sean Payton is a Super Bowl head coach. All right. Like Sean Payton is inarguably probably one of the 10 best coaches of quarterbacks in the modern era. He's good at what he does. And I think that the Broncos offense is flawed for sure, but they got an excellent offensive line. They certainly have found a productive running game. They've got a few explosive weapons, even the sneaky ones like little Marvin Mims. Like there are things that they can do that they haven't been doing. And I don't want to just assume that their offense is going to suck for the rest of the year. They're gonna probably find a little something in there. So I think it's gonna be real tight, and it's probably gonna come down to Christmas, and it may even be like a little bit more than that. It might come down to who everyone is playing in week 18, the way that the NFL wants it, instead of, like you mentioned, instead of the Chiefs being able to rest guys, they are going to be playing every second of week 18, and maybe Kevin Harlan will be calling both games again,
Yeah. That worked out the last time that happens. So, we're going to take a break. We will be back with some non-football questions. So if you got them, throw them in the chat for Ryan and I right after this.
Chiefs Kingdom, what is your favorite touchdown? By now, you guys already know that my favorite touchdown is the next one, because with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown could bring you closer to cashing in. From first touchdown score to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. You want spreads? They got it. Over-unders? DraftKings got you covered. Same-game parlays, regular parlays? DraftKings has it, and you need it. And here's the best part. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Your team hitting pay dirt pays out to you. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Welcome back to 21 Questions. Craig Stout, Ryan Scott Hall. Now it's time for the stuff that you all are most interested in. Ryan and I are not going to talk football anymore. That's how it always goes in 21 Questions with the two of us. First question here from our guy, Nick Johnston. It's a cook-off. What dish are each of you bringing to try and impress the judges? He put in parentheses, myself. He's including himself in this. And defeat the other in a cook-off. Ryan,
dang.
You got something here. First of all, I'm going to concede immediately here. I want everybody to know I do not hold myself in the same regard as a chef that I know Mr. Ryan Scott Hall is. He may not want to own up to that, but I will for him. So yeah. You have anything that's a go-to that you would bring?
I mean, I've always said that like I would cook biscuits and gravy for the Queen of England. Like I don't care, because I think that my gravy, regardless of like who I'm making it for or what, how it goes, like it's one of the things I'm most confident doing. But there are a number of staples for me, not necessarily like for the other people in my life, but things that I know I'm really good at technically, and would say like this is something that I would love to use, in competition. I would say probably the thing that I am most confident making is pasta in general. I just have enough experience over the years of putting ingredients together, cooking pasta, The way that everything kind of has to marry, trying to get textures right, all that kind of stuff. Pasta is something that I think I really thrive with. And so that, those are things I think that come top of mind. I also love to make meatloaf. I will make, I'll put your grandmother to shame when it comes to meatloaf. That's something that I love doing. But yeah, I mean, I just like cooking, man.
I know you do. And if you show up with biscuits and gravy, I'm just getting back in the car, man. I've had the biscuits and gravy. I know. If you show up with that, it's just like, all right, well, silver medal for me, right off the bat here.
But I mean, you don't have to be that humble, man. Like you are a very capable cook yourself, and
I'm capable. I would agree with that. Well, I am. Yeah.
You are. I think that you are. I would consider you better than a home cook, and you may not think that about yourself, but like a lot of home cooks, in my estimation, don't know and aren't interested in food the way that you are, which is why I put you at a different level, because a lot of home cooks. And I don't say that as a derogatory thing. I am a home cook, right? Like I'm trained more, but I cook at home now. I'm home cook. But if you don't have the interest and you haven't been exposed to different flavors, different ingredients, different combinations of things, then you're going to be on a slightly lower rung of quality of cooking. And
sure,
you eat Thai food all the time, and there are a lot of home cooks that would be like, that's terrifying, and so even just something as simple as that is branching out into like other food from around the world, more global flavors, I think just raises your level of cooking. You're
sure
pretty accomplished home cook, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. No, I'm bringing jambalaya. I know that I'm bringing jambalaya, and I know Nick's food's preferences, and I'm going to lose just based on the ingredients in there. But if we get a couple other judges, I'm going to be sitting okay with my jambalaya. Honed it over the years at this point. I'm also probably baking bread. I'm going to come to the table with a complex bread of some kind, something that takes a lot of time, a couple day rise. I just really try and show off on that front there. That is kind of my go-to.
That's where you got the leg up on me, man. I don't.
That's what I was going to say.
Nothing bread-wise.
Angle, yeah.
Truthfully, what we got to do is I make the gravy and you make the biscuits. And
I've done and made some excellent biscuits, buddy. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's really the combination of our powers there, I think. So we wouldn't.
Craig's going to run the pastry side of our restaurant. I'll handle savory, and
love it.
You're going to have a great time.
Love it. Oh my goodness, Ryan, we would have problems. You and I would just be eating each other's food all day long. Like that, we wouldn't have any for anybody else. That would
be America. Stout Hall.
Stout Hall. That sounds like a lot more professional than it actually is. It's just going to be us serving B&Gs and it's great. Casey from KC says, do either of you watch any particular cooking shows or are a fan of any well-known chef? I know I can speak for myself. You and I talk about him all the time. Dave Chang. Dave Chang is one of our favorites there. I make his bosom quite frequently at home there. That's something that my kids, for whatever reason, I've been able to sneak that one in. They don't revolt when I do that with some lettuce wraps and things. He has a cooking show on Netflix called Dinner Time Live, where that's a really fun cooking show. Really enjoy watching that. But Dave Chang's my guy, my go-to when he tells me, no, I like this and I like this flavors. Way he talks about food, my mouth's watering just thinking about comments that he's made in the past. So he's my guy there. You got anybody else, Ryan?
I want to at least piggyback on Chang for a second. I know that we've probably mentioned him in the past, but if you guys have not, if you don't know who David Chang is, number one, you should read his story. If you want to actually read his memoir, Eat a Peach, it's phenomenal. But just like learning a little bit about him through Wikipedia, I think that you would be pretty excited about who this guy is. I mean, he, in many ways, popularized craft ramen in America. After going overseas and obsessing in Japan, he came back and started a noodle bar in New York City that basically brought that craft ramen wave that you're now seeing. I mean, Kansas City just started doing it like 5 years ago, and he was doing it in New York in 2008. Like this is a guy that has made huge waves in the culinary world, and he has a line of retail products. You can find them at places like Target and Whole Foods, but you can also just order online where it's never out of stock. And the company is called Momofuku, Momofuku. And I'm telling you, I buy stuff from them all the time. I buy their seasonings. I buy their barbecue sauces. I buy their noodles. I love the chili crunch and the garlic crunch. I mean, I'm all over those all the time. He has other shows too. David Chang did Mind of a Chef on PBS with some other really excellent personalities. Bourdain was on that show quite a bit. One of my favorites, Sean Brock, was on that show quite a bit. You can probably still find Mind of a Chef like on YouTube and some other places. But then David Chang also did a show on Netflix called Ugly Delicious that I cannot recommend highly enough. If you want to learn not just about food, but about culture, David Chang is kind of becoming the new Bourdain. And he's different for sure. And he's doing it his own way, but using food to discuss history, or discuss social issues and things like that. And Chang is doing an amazing job at it. One of his contemporaries, a guy out of Los Angeles named Roy Choi, another big time favorite of mine. Roy has done a couple shows, less acclaim for sure. But he's got a food truck empire in Southern California, and then he opened a brick and mortar in Vegas that my wife and I went to and just had an amazing time. Roy Choi, best friend.
Oh yeah,
outrageous.
Yeah.
I will say though, like a person that I return to over and over and have really felt like I don't know, like an urgency to do it because she passed away this year. But Anne Burrell was a major inspiration for me. Her bolognese recipe changed the way that I made bolognese. Like I basically went from I make meat sauce this way to I don't make it this way anymore. I make it the way that Anne Burrell does. She is one of the more dynamic Italian chefs of the last 25 or 30 years. And I just have so much respect for all of the things that she accomplished after stepping out of Mario Batali's shadow. Anne Burrell really carved out a great corner of the food world. I would say that also you guys can learn a lot. If you are interested in learning and just getting excited about food, watch Top Chef. It's an incredible show.
I mean, it really is.
It's not like it's sometimes there's like a little fighting, but I think it gets billed as reality TV when it is more of it is food education. And some of the challenges are a little wonky, but you will start learning vocabulary. You're going to learn technique, and you're going to start learning about a lot of different chefs that are maybe not celebrities. Some of them become that, but you're going to start saying like, oh, well, I really liked this guy in season 12 and I want to go eat at his restaurant, right? Like that kind of stuff. So I think Top Chef is actually like a treasure trove of food television for people because you can start to branch out from there.
Yeah. I think people lump that in very frequently with some of that, and it's not. They made a conscious decision not to be.
I mean, it's on Bravo, so people it gets associated with Kardashian and wives and all that kind of stuff, but it's not that at all.
Yeah. All right. We've got over here, Keith McLean asked another food question here. What's your go-to breakfast? I mean, you said B&G already, Ryan, but like, what's your go-to if you're not making it? Oh,
well, I don't like I don't really like making pancakes and waffles and French toast kind of
Make
stuff.
that
Like
all time for my kids.
it's pancakes are supposed to be simple, but my God, are they complex to get right? I cannot. I've made in my life 420 pancakes already, and I can't get them right, man. I keep trying the egg whites thing to try to make them fluffier, and that seems to, be okay. But I think when I go out to breakfast, that's normally what I end up doing is like, I want someone else's pancake or waffle or something like that. But I've been doing this, this like only eat at certain times thing. So breakfast is no more. I don't eat until 11 o'clock every day. So my first meal of the day is technically lunch. But I always kind of liked a savory breakfast anyway. And so a lot of times what I'm actually eating, if I'm making it, is some kind of English muffin, some kind of little turkey, whatever, fruit,
Yeah. I got a pancake recipe to send you after this that I
Please.
make for my kids all the time. Like I constantly am making it. I too am a person that typically doesn't have my first meal of the day until noon or later sometimes. Trust me, I snack all night, so I make up for what I'm. It's not for fasting or any reasons like that. It's just the schedule that I'm on. But we find when we go out, I am drawn to Southern and Creole breakfasts the most. Like that is exactly where I go. There is a restaurant here in the Colorado area. It's locally owned, but there's 3, I believe, that are around here. One of them is in my town. It's called Lucille's Creole Cafe. I've proposed, said it before. We actually went there last week. I had a red beans made with ham bones with poached eggs and hollandaise on top, served with spicy cheese jalapeno grits. And potatoes and beignets on the side, and like that is my
anything the rest of the day or
right there. No. I ate that, and then I think I'm not even sure I was hungry at dinner. Like I'm not sure that I was at that point. It was absolutely unreal. I just used to travel all the time to work to Savannah, Georgia, just go eat biscuits, collards, grits. Like, I am pure Southern food go-to breakfast kind of guy there. So
I like that too. I love an Asian breakfast though. I mean, honestly, if I could have yesterday's fried rice with like a new egg or two and a runny yolk that I can mix in there, that might be my favorite breakfast. A savory bowl of rice with some eggs and something else happening. I mean, honestly, I could probably just go like eggs and like some wakame seaweed and a couple eggs and some rice in there. Like I could just get after it.
Yeah. My wife
Dave Pang actually he's very opinionated on food and sometimes irritates people, but he says that America is the one place in the world that doesn't know how to make breakfast.
Yeah.
Everything at breakfast in America is like sweet and sugary. And he's like, if you go anywhere in Asia or Europe, like, you might still find pastry, but it's not like covered in sugar. Everything in America is a freaking donut, basically.
It
I
is.
bought donuts this morning, so I'm not.
I know. I was going to say, I'm not turning down donuts. I make donuts all the time too, but yeah.
Most global cultures do not have like sweet, sugary breakfast the way that we do. A lot of them are eating something more on that savory side.
Oh, my stomach is rumbling thinking about savory foods right now for breakfast here. All right. We are going to close it down with one final question here. This one's not a food question.
Okay.
It is a music question here from Rugby Fox. What's one vastly underrated album that everyone should be listening to? Do you have one at the top of your head? Because I can go first if you need a little time here.
Go first and let me look at my Spotify.
Okay. Well, I can tell you right now, I am in a big Motown phase. And so, I am just absolutely obsessed with a lot of that genre of music right now. There are, speaks to the testament of Motown and what they built and all of that. I'm actually reading a book about how all that was created, the way that they came about and all of that. It's very well represented. Everybody knows who Stevie Wonder is. This is not, so it's not an underrated album. He's incredible. I think we forget how amazing he is sometimes, but it's not underrated. So going to more, maybe some newer or more underground stuff a little bit. She's not super underground, but Nico Case's album Middle Cyclone, as a kid that grew up in the Midwest, really hits home for me. All the themes about it are about, weather patterns and things like that. And it's kind of like an indie / alt country. She does that better than anybody else, in my opinion there. I really, really love that album specifically because it's the music that I like as well, but it's coupled with themes that really hit home to me, tornadoes, thunderstorms, rainstorms, things like that all of these songs have elements of. And so it just really scratches a specific itch in my brain that I absolutely love.
That's cool. I just added it to my Spotify so I can do it on a walk or something. I'm going to go with, I don't know if it's actually like in the same vein. I see that Middle Cyclone is from 2009. Mm-hmm. This is from 10 years later, 2019, the beloved 2019. But I actually just heard this album for the first time 3 months ago. Derek Klassen. For the quarterback nerds out there, Derek Klassen, a great football writer, and now partnered with Robert Mays on the Athletic Football Show. He's also like a big time game and music nerd. And he randomly over on Blue Sky just said listening to whatever. Mm-hmm. And I had never heard of it. And I'm kind of if I haven't heard of it, I'm like, why? Type of person. And so I went and listened to it. The artist name is Maggie Rogers.
Oh, and yes. Okay.
The album, Heard It in a Past Life. Uh-huh. She made this as a student artist. Uh-huh. And actually, when I was kind of freaking out, like, oh my God, why have I not ever heard this album before? Once I started listening to it, I had people start sending me like YouTube videos. There are some videos of her playing songs that she made literally in school for Pharrell, and he's listening to it like,
he even says at one point, like, he's in there purposefully to like give them, like, he's at the school to be like, hey, here are some things that you can use to put, like, he's helping them, as a producer and things like that. And I believe she plays the song Alaska for him, and he gets done with it and he goes, don't change anything. Like, I mean, he's just like, just perfect.
Put it down.
Go. Yeah. So yeah,
it's to be, I've never heard of this person before, and just put it on and press play. I don't think I had listened to an album like that from an artist I'd never heard of and been so floored at like how good everything that they put on that album was. It had been a decade since I had been exposed to something like that, where I was like, "Oh my God! Like, who is this person?" It is a phenomenal album. Again, it's called "Heard It in a Past Life," and that's Maggie Rogers.
Yeah, I would also suggest listen to "Don't Forget Me" by Maggie Rogers as well. Those get regular rotation in our household, so I like that a lot. You're gonna like Nico Case. You came up with Maggie Rogers. You're gonna like the Nico Case album.
Beautiful.
So, all right, that's gonna do it for 21 questions, everybody. I thank you so much, everybody, for submitting questions, joining us live here. This is your bye-week edition. We really appreciate everybody paying attention to KCSN, watching, consuming everything that you do involving us. We're ready for the home stretch here. Kansas City Chiefs going to be playoff bound, 10 straight in the AFC West. It's all on the table for them. I am Craig Stout for Ryan Scott Hall. Thank you so much for listening. We love you. Be kind to each other, and we will catch you later.